there's a set of content that has to meet the community guidelines. Ben Shapiro is going to meet the community guidelines. So I don't think you're suggesting that we remove him from the platform, are you?
I would, but I can't. No,
okay,
no.
Okay.
But you know,
Okay.
you know, last time I saw you, I was like, get Alex Jones off that platform, and you're like, well, the community guidelines, and then you got him
now
off.
He's not on the platform.
I know, so I was right, but that's enough.
I'm Alex Jones, your host. We're here live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central, the War Room with Owen Schroyer, 3 o'clock Central. Roger Stone can't co-host. He's got a gag order. Can't even write books right here in the USA. Keep your mouth shut. And, of course, we've got David Knight. He's not been locked up or gagged yet. 8 a.m. Central. But guess what happens tomorrow? We've got a Stop the Bias. Hashtag Stop the Bias. Stop Big Tech Censorship. Save the First Amendment. Live global 50-hour broadcast where we have got a flotilla of top guest experts on with the main focus on the censorship and how to counter the globalist and what needs to be done. We need Section 230 to be stripped from big tech. Nobody else has immunity. If they want to act as publishers and censor and control and say they have editorial control like Tim Cook has said, then you lose 230, which, by the way, I don't want to do. But you can't have your filthy cake and eat it too. So we've got just amazing guests. Everybody from Tommy Robinson to you name it will be joining us. And Trump, since we've been lighting a fire under his tail, has been saying, okay, I won't wait till the campaign until I get back into office with a campaign pledge to go after big tech with antitrust suits. I'll do it now. Good. Let's keep lighting more fires under the president's gluteus maximus, because squeaky wheels get the grease here, and this has got to be done. And there's a lot going on behind the scenes as corporate America actually wakes up and says, wait, they're actually going to end the First Amendment in New York Times versus Sullivan? What does that mean? And so before, a large part of corporate America was globalist and wanted this, but now a large part is waking up and saying, you're really going to do that? So a lot of big stuff going on behind the scenes that I'm not at liberty to tell you, and that I will never tell you because it's off record. But I've been talking to folks in California, people in Silicon Valley, people who have national talk shows, and I've been talking to a lot of other people. And to the level of having to sign non-disclosures and things, which I will not violate. And there is a lot going on. A lot going on. And there's a big buzz going. I got 2 calls this weekend from big national hosts. We're going to go to Mark Dice's report first. I was going to play one report. Mike Adams, I'm going to play that next segment. I'm going to play Mark Dice's report first. And I got these calls, and they said, wow. You know, at very high levels in Silicon Valley and in Hollywood, they're finally concerned about you being censored and realize it's going to be everybody. And that we need to turn this around, and that there's been high-level discussions with these other big law firms in the Democratic Party to stop doing what they're doing to myself and others because they know it's a fraud. And the Democrats agreed to do it and then doubled back and didn't stop. So this civil war in the government is not just between left and right. It is between people that want to have any semblance of due process and any semblance of rule of law and this authoritarian instinct that we're going headlong into. That, by the way, planetary. Without even looking for it, half my stack, probably 50 stories or more, are about governments and corporations and universities all over the world just saying, there's no more free speech. It's gone. Here's Mark Dice breaking some of the latest attacks down.
First, they came for Alex Jones, and a lot of people thought he said some crazy things, and he's kind of on the fringe. They certainly won't censor any mainstream conservatives. Well, I've been trying to tell you that he was just the beginning. YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki recently sat down for an interview with Kara Swisher. If you're not familiar with her name, I'm sure that you've seen some of her interviews. She was the one who did that interview with Mark Zuckerberg when he was sweating profusely when she brought up some of the privacy concerns. She also scored that historic interview with Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and has interviewed all of the big names in tech. And at this year's Lesbians Who Tech conference in San Francisco, Kara Swisher pressured YouTube CEO to ban Ben Shapiro, a conservative commentator, perhaps best known for giving lectures on college campuses. Kara Swisher, who, as you may have guessed, is a lesbian, hence her being at the Lesbians Who Tech conference, adopted a poor child along with her wife, who is now 13 years old and is watching Ben Shapiro videos on YouTube.
I'll get to recommendations. I have a personal beef with you about that.
Okay. I can't wait to hear.
My son, who's 13 years old,
Yes.
started watching Ben Shapiro videos. And he's like
Okay.
the gateway drug to the next group. And then it goes right to Jordan Peterson, then it goes down, and in 3 clicks, he was at neo-Nazi stuff. It was like astonishing. And then I had to listen to it at dinner. And I was sort of like, I'm going to kill Susan Wojcicki first.
Okay,
And then,
well, here I am.
but it was sort of like, I was sort of like, is there anything, like, it feels like, as I said, I think you've heard me say this, it feels like all you tech companies have built cities, these beautiful cities, but you decided not to initially put in police, fire, garbage, street signs, and stuff like that. And
In her brain-damaged mind, the Nazi stuff are probably clips of Tucker Carlson or PewDiePie.
And then I've got like this kid who's like, well, Ben Shapiro's sort of smart. I'm like, no, he's not. No, he's not even slightly. He's clever, but he's an idiot. And anyway, it's just like, it's exhausting. But it has like a huge effect on them. Do you feel like the people, like, on a bigger thing, and it's not your total responsibility, Susan, but do you feel like the people still behind have a sense of this, of the impact they have?
Folks, I'm going to have to come back and play the rest of this. It's so incredible, and back it up about 30 seconds. So you've got this woman married to the woman who was the head of internet technology development for Obama. That means controlling the new rollout of censorship. And she's saying, my son likes Ben Shapiro, and it's horrible, so she wants to use her power like a giant internet TV changer. Or basically giant internet parental controls because Ben Shapiro needs to be stopped. Lady, you're not going to stop your son from rebelling against your authoritarian leftist crap. That's why humans genetically, the young, rebel. Even if your parents are great, they still rebel. God put that in us to take us on a new course in case we have bad parents. That's how the change works. It's meant so your kids don't stay with you. They're meant to move out. So they're meant about 13, 14 genetically to try to differentiate from you. You're such big leftists, you're so smart. And so they're going to try to be the opposite of you. So if you wanted leftist sons who wanted to, take Prozac and Ritalin and, take chemicals to be castrated or whatever, you would pose as a right winger that beat them and, told them that sex was dirty or whatever. Then you'd get a leftist, maybe. No. Now you're saying you can't have Ben Shapiro or Alex Jones. It's over, lady. You'll never be able to censor. You'll never be able to control it. China, the Chi-Coms are going to lose control. You're going to lose control. Nationalism is spreading all over the world. We'll come back with the rest of this intriguing report that's posted on Infowars.com and Newswars.com. Please never forget, if you want to be able to tune into this fusion of analysis and punditry and humor and all these guests and everything, you've got to go to one of our local radio stations or TV stations, or you've got to go to Infowars.com and Newswars.com, and they're working around the clock. Oliver Darcy at CNN is now to get our actual content host taken down. They're working around the clock. The wolves that are around us here at the fire. And we've got our torches in the night, still moving forward, still battling, still marching. But we need your financial support. We need your prayers. And we need something more important than just financial support. We need you to carry the ball and by word of mouth, tell them. Newswars.com, Infowars.com. Find out why criminals and pedophiles and degenerates everywhere hate us, because we know how to beat them. So we're playing clips of Kara Swisher, and she was married to Megan Smith. Document cam shot, please. Can you tune into the Alex Jones Show? And she's up there talking about how they want to censor the internet because her son is tuned in to Ben Shapiro, who's a gateway drug to Jordan Peterson, and then you find people like, you know, Mark Dyson, Alex Jones, God forbid. And so that's why you're seeing all this draconian censorship. Think about this. There are tons of articles out yesterday and today saying Jones had another YouTube channel banned. Well, it wasn't our YouTube channel because on the channel, it said false flag. And the video that they are talking about is Rush Limbaugh saying, a lot of people are saying this guy's a leftist from his own manifesto, where he says he's an eco-fascist, where he says that he loves communist China, where he says he's not a conservative, and that he's doing this to create a clash of civilizations. Well, that would be a false flag. It doesn't mean nobody died. It doesn't mean people didn't get shot. It means, like the PNAC document written by Dick Cheney in 2000. He said, if we have about 3,000 people die, the same size as Pearl Harbor, he actually said this. He said if the same number of people died, say like a new Pearl Harbor event, we could use that as a catalyst for a new American century and have a clash of civilizations between the West and Islam and crush Islam. Now, as much as I don't like radical expanding Islam, I wasn't for that. And I read Rebuilding America's Defenses dozens of times on air. That doesn't mean 9/11 didn't happen, towers didn't come down, people didn't get killed. It meant our government at highest levels was allowing the attacks to take place, and that's since then come out. And they don't want me to be able to question that. So instead, I start getting phone calls from people going, hey, are you saying this didn't happen? No, I didn't say that. So when you read the articles, it'll never have quotes other than false flag. Well, I could say this is not a false flag, and then they would still have false flag up there. And it's not a classic false flag where you totally go, you know, blow something up yourself and then blame it on somebody, or attack your own military base and blame it on somebody like Operation Himmler that started World War II. That's on record. But he says in the manifesto, I'm doing this to cause a global race war just like Charlie Manson did in 1969. Well, when you say you're trying to stage a horrible provocation to start a larger war, that is the definition of a provocateur, false flag. There's different types. But the corporate media lies to you and says Jones's channel was also taken down for showing the massacre. That's what Engadget, or how do you even say the name of this site? EdgeNet, E-N-G-A-D-G-E. I know it's a big site. I can never read it right. I'm so ignorant. And it says here that I also showed the massacre. No, we didn't. We showed what the news showed. Him getting out of the car, blurred video, but oh, CNN can show it. We can't show it. It's absolutely outrageous that they do this type of crap. But you hear this woman who scores all the big interviews with big tech, she's the darling, and they're talking about how they're going to keep their kids from watching popular nationalist right-wingers and others. And you hear the disconnect and the arrogance as if she'll ever be successful. You suppress something, you only make it hotter. Let's go back to Mark Dice's report.
I can't wait to hear.
My son, who's 13 years old, started watching Ben Shapiro videos. And he's like the gateway drug to the next group. And then it goes right to Jordan Peterson, then it goes down, and in 3 clicks, he was at neo-Nazi stuff. It was like astonishing. And then I had to listen to it at dinner. And I was sort of like, I'm going to kill Susan Wojcicki first.
Okay,
and then,
well, here I am.
But it was sort of like, I was sort of like, is there anything, like, it feels like, as I said, I think you've heard me say this, it feels like all you tech companies have built cities, these beautiful cities, but you decided not to initially put in police, fire, garbage, street signs, and stuff like that.
Hit pause again. The internet was millions of sites and you surfed the web and it was beautiful. Then big tech got together with these conglomerates to build their own contained systems so they can control you. They get you on YouTube, they get you on Facebook and Twitter, and then they start the tyranny. We built all these sites. People's content built them. Without us, you're nothing. But it's this elitist attitude that we're lucky to even be on their platforms. You see how that works? Let's continue.
Find the Nazi stuff are probably clips of Tucker Carlson or PewDiePie.
And then I've got like this kid who's like, well, Ben Shapiro's sort of smart. I'm like, no, he's not. No, he's not even slightly. He's clever, but he's an idiot. And anyway, it's just like, it's exhausting. But it has like a huge effect on them. Do you feel like the people, like, on a bigger thing, and it's not your total responsibility, Susan, but do you feel like the people still have a sense of this, of the impact they have?
So getting to your son.
He's lost.
No, we can work on your son here. I have a son too, and I get some of these discussions also at the dinner table.
Right.
I mean, so
She just said that her 13-year-old son was lost because he's not a social justice warrior, and he's looking up conservative videos on YouTube and maybe looking at Jordan Peterson as a father figure because he's being raised by two lesbians. Maybe the poor kid should be put into a foster home consisting of a normal family. You know, a husband and a wife.
I think what you're describing is, and the way we think about it too, look, there's a set of content that has to meet the community guidelines. Ben Shapiro is going to meet the community guidelines. So I don't think you're suggesting that we remove him from the platform, are you?
I would, but I can't. No,
Okay,
no.
okay.
But last time I saw you, I was like, get Alex Jones off that platform. And you're like, well, the community guidelines. And then you got him
Now
off.
he's not on the platform.
I know, so I was right, but that's enough.
Get him off.
She literally said if it was up to her, she would ban Ben Shapiro for the same reasons that she wanted Alex Jones banned. Now, I am no fan of Ben Shapiro. I know that a lot of you guys are. I just can't trust a guy who basically endorsed Hillary Clinton by default shortly before the 2016 election by announcing that he would never vote for Donald Trump and said that if Trump wins that he will never appoint conservatives to the Supreme Court. There's a whole bunch of reasons why I don't like neocon Ben.
Trump's three biggest crowds are evangelicals, conservatives, and he's a winner voters. Trump is lying to all of them. Stop buying the lies. Because as entertaining as Donald Trump is a liar.
And don't even get me started about him supporting Michelle Fields' hoax about getting assaulted and almost thrown to the ground by Trump's campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski. He's about as Republican establishment as you can get. He's neocon to the core. He has billionaire backers who built his entire career. But because he has such a following amongst college kids, Kara Swisher sees him as the new Alex Jones, who needs to be censored from the internet because he says such controversial things like there are only two genders. That is considered to be hate speech by the liberals today. And there was a gamer on Twitch who was reportedly banned for saying that on one of her live streams. And as you know, I was briefly suspended and locked out of my Twitter account for tweeting that. Since basically breathing is a violation of the terms of service of these big tech companies, technically Ben has violated their policy.
All right, great job, Mark Dice. Full report, Infowars.com, Newswars.com, MarkDice.com. There is a publicly admitted international plan to shut down nationalist, pro-free market, pro-Western speech all across the world. And I don't want to say I'm honored, but in a way I am, to have been chosen first last year to be deplatformed. Then they set the precedent. Now if you try to tell somebody the dangers of vaccines and read off the insert, they take you off the internet. Now, Google announced just today that they're not going to take Christian advertising of most types on their platform because it upsets the San Francisco Google employees. Our country and the world more and more is in the grip of anti-free speech, hyper-leftist, anti-human, transhumanists who literally think they own and run our lives. And if we keep bowing to these cults, the cancer that is San Francisco and many of these big universities is going to be the operating system of the planet. Humanity must awaken and say no to these control freaks.